The walls of WWE are crumbling. Whispers abound that the Money in the Bank arena was almost empty, and fan interest in both Raw and SmackDown has plummeted. It's clear that WWE needs a jolt, and I believe the answer lies in the return of Roman Reigns, not just alone, but with his new Shield. Only they can rescue WWE from its current predicament. In this video, I'll explain why I feel so strongly about this. The presence of Roman Reigns' new Shield is crucial for the upcoming pay-per-view, Night of Champions. This highly anticipated event airs on June 29th at 9:30 p.m., exclusively on Netflix. Don't have Netflix? No worries. I'll be providing live updates of Night of Champions right here on my channel. So, if you haven't already, subscribe and hit that bell icon to stay tuned. Why Roman Reigns and the new Shield are essential. As I mentioned, WWE desperately needs Roman Reigns and the new Shield, and for several compelling reasons. The Roman Reigns factor. First and foremost, there's Roman Reigns himself. His return wouldn't be a pointless comeback, it would ignite an immediate and engaging storyline. We're not talking about a random feud. Roman already has an ongoing rivalry with Seth Freakin Rollins and Paul Heyman. While Rollins and Heyman are strong, they need Roman Reigns' presence to elevate their narrative even further. Imagine this: Seth Rollins and his team are united, and then Roman Reigns makes his epic return, bringing with him a new iteration of the Shield. This new group could even introduce a fresh face to WWE, instantly boosting TRP, television rating points. The power of the Bloodline and a new Samoan dynasty. Remember the excitement the Bloodline brought to WWE? It created numerous stars. Who would have thought Jey Uso would become a world heavyweight champion? The Bloodline made it happen. It's time to tap into that success again by introducing a new Samoan talent. The debut of someone like Zilla Fatu alongside Roman Reigns would be a truly incredible moment for fans. Dean Ambrose, the missing piece for SmackDown. Finally, if WWE needs one more individual to significantly elevate its TRP, it's Dean Ambrose. This isn't just about a Shield reunion, though that would be amazing. Think about it: if Roman Reigns holds down Raw, someone equally capable is needed to stabilize SmackDown. I believe Dean Ambrose could go to SmackDown, take charge, and even become the SmackDown champion. That would be an incredibly impactful development. What do you think? So, what are your thoughts? Do you believe Roman Reigns' new Shield is the key to saving WWE? Let me know in the comments below. The lights went out. Not flickered. Not dimmed. They vanished. For a brief second, the arena plunged into absolute darkness. No Titantron, no spotlight, no music. Just the stunned sound of thousands of fans gasping, and then, silence. Not scripted silence. Real silence. The kind that only happens when no one knows what the hell is going on. And then it hit. Not a chair. Not a punch. A moment. The first thud of Roman Reigns' music blasted through the speakers like a cannon. People stood up so fast chairs crashed over. Phones rose like a wave. And in the middle of that ring, Seth Rollins froze like a man who just saw a ghost. Because he did. Roman Reigns was back. But he wasn't alone. Behind him stood two shadows. Unfamiliar. Towering. Dangerous. Faces partially hidden under tactical vests and hooded stairs. The message was clear: even before a word was spoken or a blow was thrown, this wasn't a reunion. This was a takeover. To understand why this moment has the internet on fire, and why Seth Rollins didn't have a damn word to say, you have to understand the bigger picture. WWE is collapsing under its own weight. Let's stop sugarcoating it. Over the past year, cracks have turned into canyons. Ratings have dipped. Fan interest has waned. Some Monday Night Raw tapings can't even fill the front rows anymore. Money in the Bank, once one of the most electrifying events on the WWE calendar, was practically echoing through empty seats this year. Twitter hashtags like #wedding, #cancel Raw, and hashtag same old script have trended repeatedly. And it's not just social media rage posting. It's numbers. It's reality. Viewership for Raw has slipped below 1.5 million multiple times this year, a record low. SmackDown, even with its Fox primetime slot, is barely keeping above water. Merch sales? Down. Pay-per-view buzz? Nearly non-existent, until now. And the sad part? The talent is there. Seth Rollins, Cody Rhodes, Drew McIntyre, even the young guns like Braun Breaker, they're all doing what they can. But it's not enough. Because the fans don't just want wrestling. They want story. Stakes. Chaos. Loyalty. Betrayal. Identity. A reason to care. And no one in modern WWE history delivered that better than The Shield. Roman Reigns didn't just return. He orchestrated a statement. In under 5 minutes, he reminded the entire WWE universe who he was. Not just a champion, not just the head of the table, but the gravitational center of the company. When Roman moves, the world watches. And that night, the world watched him dismantle Seth Rollins without saying a single word. It wasn't a promo war. It wasn't a sneak attack. It was a tactical strike. Cold. Surgical. Devastating. The men who followed him into that ring weren't henchmen. They were soldiers. New soldiers. This wasn't the bloodline. This wasn't nostalgia. This was the new Shield. And that should terrify everyone. Because if history has taught us anything, it's that Roman doesn't move unless the game has already been rigged in his favor. You don't bring back the Shield branding unless you're about to go scorched earth. You don't target Seth Rollins, arguably the face of Raw, unless you're declaring war on the brand itself. So, ask yourself, was this the return of Roman Reigns? Or the beginning of WWE Civil War? Because here's the truth, the company needs it. Desperately. This isn't just another plotline. This is WWE lighting a fuse under its own foundation. Because Night of Champions is around the corner. Because fan loyalty is on life support. Because no one, not even Seth freaking Rollins, feels bulletproof anymore. And now that Roman is back, the game has changed. But here's the real question, who are these new Shield members? And what exactly do they want? Stick with me, because what comes next isn't just a theory. It's a war map. And at the center of it is the only man who can still save, or destroy, everything WWE built, Roman Reigns. Something is deeply broken inside WWE. What was once the pinnacle of global sports entertainment, the empire built on chants, steel chairs, pyrotechnics, and storytelling, now feels eerily hollow. The crowd noise is still piped in. The cameras still cut between angles with slick precision. The performers still hit their spots. But something crucial has vanished, authentic energy. You can feel it watching from home. The pauses between promo lines that used to roar with crowd response now echo with uncomfortable silence. The chants that once rattled arenas have become fragmented or absent. Audience reactions used to be raw, electric, unpredictable. Now they feel manufactured, like a laugh track in a sitcom that's lost its punch. Money in the Bank 2025 was supposed to be a highlight. A night of surprises, betrayals, ladder crashes, and golden briefcases held high above the ring. Instead, what people noticed most wasn't the action, it was the empty rows. Social media caught it fast. Zoomed-in pictures of wide swaths of vacant seats went viral before the first match even ended. On Reddit, fans counted. By the main event, whole sections behind the hard cam were nearly deserted. Some suggested the arena was barely 60% full. But the problem didn't start that night. It's been creeping in like rust under paint. Raw and Smackdown used to be essential weekly viewing. The term Monday Night Wars was born from the kind of loyalty that made fans choose sides, argue, scream, and never miss an episode. Now, fans miss weeks at a time and feel like they didn't miss anything. Look at the numbers. In 2019, Monday Night Raw averaged over 2.5 million viewers per episode. By the end of 2024, that number was flirting with the 1.5 million mark, and in some cases, dipping below it. That's not just a dip. That's freefall. For a brand that prides itself on being the flagship, losing nearly 1 million weekly viewers is catastrophic. SmackDown, even with its primetime placement on Fox, hasn't been spared. The same pattern: strong push, declining retention, social media buzz that doesn't translate into consistent viewership. The spectacle is still there, but the stakes feel blurred. Stories drag. Characters get repackaged every few months. Heels turn face, then heel again, without reason. Matches happen, titles change hands, but the emotional investment is gone. The illusion is cracking. Merchandise tells its own story. In past years, WWE could bank on top-tier superstars moving thousands of shirts, hats, action figures, and more. But in 2025, outside a few legacy acts and limited-time runs, merch sales have slowed. It's not that fans don't want to buy. It's that they don't believe in what they're buying into anymore. The brands of stars like Seth Rollins, Becky Lynch, and even Cody Rhodes have plateaued. There's no momentum. No fire. And then there's the atmosphere in the locker room itself. Reports from backstage have painted a picture that sounds more like a corporate holding pattern than a creative powerhouse. Morale is reportedly low. Some talents have grown frustrated with last-minute changes to scripts, inconsistent character direction, and being pulled from live TV with no explanation. These aren't just low-card names. Even mid- and upper-card talents are allegedly exploring other options. In interviews, some are hinting at it openly. You can feel it even during commentary. The forced excitement. The repetition of phrases like big fight feel or electric atmosphere when it's clear the crowd is lukewarm. There's a gap between what WWE wants fans to believe and what fans are actually seeing and feeling. This is not the WWE of 2014. It's not even the WWE of 2020. This is a company that has become risk-averse, insulated, and too comfortable with safe plays. For a brand built on controversy, chaos, and unpredictability, that's a death sentence. WWE's recent partnerships with Netflix and Saudi Arabia have injected new money and reach, yes. But distribution doesn't equal passion. You can stream every PPV in 4K with surround sound, but if you're not emotionally invested in the characters, it won't matter. The production value can be elite, but if the stories are weak, the show still flops. All of this comes at a time when wrestling fans have more choices than ever. AEW continues to lure away diehard fans with more long-term booking and a deeper focus on in-ring storytelling. NJPW, Impact, even GCW, all these promotions are gaining niche followings. The monopoly WWE once held is gone. And fans aren't just walking away. They're running toward alternatives. There's also the matter of cultural presence. Once upon a time, WWE moments trended organically. Remember Kofi Mania? The return of Edge at the Royal Rumble? CM Punk's infamous pipe bomb? These were moments that transcended wrestling and became internet-wide events. In 2025, WWE rarely trends unless something controversial or botched happens. That's not buzz. That's damage control. So how does WWE fix this? There's no simple answer, but it starts with one word: gravity. Every show, every feud, every faction needs something that pulls everything together. A magnetic center. And right now, WWE doesn't have it. Cody Rhodes is valiant, sure. Seth Rollins is dynamic. Gunther is dominant. But none of them have the it factor that makes you tune in just to see what they'll do next. Roman Reigns did. Say what you want about his extended title reign, his part-time appearances, or the dominance of the Bloodline storyline, when Roman was on screen, people watched. He had command. Whether fans loved him or hated him, they reacted. He was gravity. That's why his absence has been so devastating. Without Roman, there's no centerpiece. WWE tried to fill the hole with a mix of high work-rate talent and part-time legend appearances, but none of it stuck. What they need isn't just Roman back. They need Roman with a reason to return. A threat. An army. That's where the new Shield comes in. Because a solo Roman could light a spark. But Roman backed by two dangerous, loyal, unknown forces? That's a bonfire. And WWE needs that fire. Not next month. Not next quarter. Now. The walls aren't just cracking. They're caving in. And without something drastic, something shocking, something that makes fans sit up and say, "Did you see Raw last night?" WWE may find itself in a worse position than it's ever faced before. Wrestling isn't dead. But WWE is bleeding. And the return of Roman Reigns, flanked by a new breed of enforcers, might just be the transfusion it needs to stay alive. Roman Reigns doesn't just draw ratings, he commands them. That might sound like an exaggeration, especially to someone who only knows him as the guy who used to wear a vest, yell "believe that," and spear people out of nowhere. But in today's WWE landscape, Roman is more than just a top star. He's the infrastructure holding the company's remaining credibility together. Let's go back. There was a time when Roman Reigns was resented. Not booed because he was a villain. Booed because fans were rejecting him as a corporate poster boy. He was given the John Cena treatment, booked to win everything, dominate everyone, and never show weakness. But the difference was, Roman didn't yet have Cena's mic skills or charisma. Fans saw through it. They hated the force-fed stardom. It wasn't personal. It was about control. They didn't want Roman chosen for them, they wanted to choose their own hero. Then something changed. It took leukemia. It took stepping away from the ring. It took coming back not with fireworks, but with silence, vulnerability, and raw humanity. And then, finally, he turned heel. And not just any heel. He became the tribal chief. Not a villain who twirls his mustache, but a man who believed in his own myth so much that fans had no choice but to either bow or fight him. The Bloodline storyline didn't save WWE by accident. It was calculated. Intentional. Layered. For nearly 3 years, Roman Reigns was the centerpiece of the most complex and slow-burn angle the company had told in a decade. Paul Heyman at his side. Jay and Jimmy Uso becoming manipulated pawns and tragic brothers. Solo Sikoa emerging from the mist like a silent executioner. Every match meant something. Every promo, even the whispers, had weight. Roman wasn't just a character. He was a godfather. A dictator. A prophet. A father figure. A tyrant. And for once, fans bought in. They didn't just watch. They studied. They debated. They made reaction videos. Every week, YouTube channels posted 40-minute breakdowns of a 5-minute Roman segment. Why? Because Roman Reigns made WWE feel important again. And now that he's been gone for months, you can feel the emptiness like a pulse. The tribal chants stopped. The tense standoffs faded. SmackDown turned into just another show. Raw, meanwhile, tried its best to position Seth Rollins as the centerpiece, but it never quite clicked the same way. Rollins is an excellent worker, unquestionably. But charisma is different from gravity. Seth makes you excited for a match. Roman makes you need to see what happens next. And here's the thing. Roman Reigns coming back isn't special just because it's a return. It's special because it allows WWE to snap the story back into focus. All of the loose threads, Heyman's silence, the bloodline fallout, the Usos separation, the vacuum on Raw, they all suddenly have connective tissue again. Roman is the character that turns chaos into narrative. More than that, Roman is one of the only people left in the company who feels like a main event. Not just in terms of booking, but presence. He walks slower than anyone else. He speaks slower. He breathes slower. Why? Because when Roman talks, everyone listens. Even the haters. People who swear they're sick of Roman still follow every development. Every time someone says he's holding the title hostage, they watch anyway. That's not heat. That's magnetism. Roman Reigns is the rare kind of talent who can manipulate fan emotion without needing to scream or bleed or bump 10 times a match. He can just stand there, say a few words, and change the direction of the entire company. So when he walked back onto Raw, flanked by two unknown monsters, everything tilted again. This isn't nostalgia. This isn't a reunion. This is evolution. Roman's return is a strategic re-injection of consequence into a product that has become borderline meaningless. His presence creates balance. More importantly, it creates danger. Because when Roman's in the building, nothing is safe. Not your title. Not your allies. Not even your identity. This is what Seth Rollins felt the moment that entrance music hit. It wasn't fear of a spear. It was fear of erasure. Because when Roman Reigns enters the picture, every other story bends around him like gravity warping time. And Seth, despite his popularity, has always been the one living in Roman's shadow. That's not disrespect. That's history. Seth turned on Roman first, back in the days of the original Shield. He's always been the anarchist. The unpredictable one. But Roman has always been the empire. The structure. The symbol. And symbols are harder to kill than men. Roman doesn't need to wrestle every week. He doesn't need to hold the mic for 10 minutes. He just needs to exist. And that, in today's fragmented WWE, is power. But this time, Roman didn't return to reclaim his throne. He returned to rewrite the rulebook. The new Shield isn't nostalgia bait. It's disruption. It's a signal that Roman isn't content being remembered as the head of the table. He's building a new table. With new seats. For new blood. And that alone shifts the stakes for everything heading toward Night of Champions. Because the truth is, WWE needs Roman not just to boost ratings or sell merch. They need him because he's the last remaining thread between what WWE was and what it could be again. Without Roman, the product feels like an imitation of itself. With him, even one entrance can shake the system. It began with a stare. Not a promo. Not an attack. Not even a smirk. Just one long, cold, calculated stare from across the ramp. Roman Reigns, flanked by two imposing silhouettes, stood under the arena lights, unmoving, unbothered, and unannounced. The crowd hadn't even processed the music drop before the screen cut to black and the iconic opening drumbeat of Roman's entrance theme sent shockwaves across the arena. The roof didn't blow off. It cracked slowly. Because this wasn't the triumphant return of a hero or the orchestrated arrival of a challenger. This felt different. Cinematic. Dangerous. It felt like something was about to go wrong. And it did. Seth Rollins, in the middle of the ring, had just finished a post-match speech. He was sweaty, bruised, but energized, coming off another successful defense of his World Heavyweight Championship. The mood had been celebratory. Fans were singing his song. Seth was doing his usual dramatic poses, arms wide, soaking in the spotlight. Then the lights dimmed. At first, people thought it was a lighting glitch. Production hiccups happen. But then came the sound. That deep, tribal, battle-ready tone that meant one thing: Roman Reigns was back. The camera shot back to Seth, and everything changed. His smile froze. His arms dropped. He didn't run. He didn't speak. He just stood there. Eyes locked on the stage. The color drained from his face. It was as if something ancient had returned from exile. Roman walked out slow, deliberate, dressed in all black. His beard fuller. His expression unreadable. And behind him, two giants. Not Solo. Not Jimmy. Not anyone fans recognized. Two brand new faces. Clad in dark tactical vests reminiscent of the Shield's old gear. No names. No introduction. Just silent, armored menace. Fans in the front rows started yelling. Phones were shaking. Twitter exploded. Back in the ring, Seth visibly mouthed something. Lip readers online later concluded it was 3 words, "This isn't real." But it was. Roman didn't speak. He stood just beyond the ring apron with the new soldiers at his side. Seth took one cautious step back. Then another. The commentary team, Corey Graves and Michael Cole, were silent for an almost unnatural amount of time. The production crew must have known. This was not the moment to talk over. The stare continued. For a full 60 seconds. Then, Roman made the first move. He stepped onto the apron. The two unknowns flanked the ring from either side. Seth glanced around, eyes darting. He had no backup. No allies in sight. No one had expected this. No one had planned for this. That's when the first hit landed. One of Roman's soldiers slid into the ring and leveled Seth with a lariat that sounded like a gunshot. The crowd gasped. No theatrics. No prelude. Just violence. Roman entered next. Slowly. Calmly. He walked over to Seth, now dazed on the mat, and knelt beside him. Still not speaking. Just looking. Then came the second strike. A devastating, spear-like takedown from the second soldier. Seth's body bounced off the mat. His head snapped back. The referee rushed in, but Roman raised one hand, and the ref backed off. This wasn't a match. This wasn't sports entertainment. This was a message. Roman finally stood over Seth, and for the first time, lifted a microphone. He said 6 words. "Do you believe me now, Seth?" Then he dropped the mic and left the ring. No celebration. No music. Just silence. The two soldiers followed, leaving Seth crumpled in the ring, clutching his ribs and staring at the lights above. You could see it in his face. He didn't look hurt. He looked broken. Like something deeper than pain had set in. He had been blindsided by history. That's when the crowd began to murmur. Not cheer. Not boo. Murmur. Because they were trying to figure out what they had just witnessed. Was this the return of the Shield? No, it didn't feel like a reunion. Was this revenge? Possibly, but for what? Was this Roman Reigns staking a claim to the Raw brand? Was he sending a message to Triple H? Or was this personal? As Seth was helped up by 2 referees, visibly shaken and not speaking, the commentary team finally regained their voices. Corey Graves. I don't know what we just saw, but that wasn't Roman Reigns the competitor. That was Roman Reigns the executioner. Michael Cole, we've seen the tribal chief, the champion, the bloodline leader, but tonight we saw something darker. The questions started pouring in. Who are these men? Are they new signees from NXT? Are they mercenaries? Are they family? Is this the beginning of a new dynasty? Backstage footage leaked later that night showed Roman walking through the hallway, expressionless, as crew members and wrestlers watched in silence. No high fives. No words. Just the aura of someone who knew he had just changed the company's trajectory in one segment. And he had. Because this wasn't just an ambush. This was structure. Timing. Purpose. Roman Reigns returned not to wrestle but to destabilize. Not to challenge for a title, but to take over a show. The implications are massive. For one, this completely disrupts the main event landscape of Raw. Seth Rollins was the steady hand. The reliable workhorse. And in under 3 minutes, Roman turned him into prey. Secondly, the mystery around the new Shield members becomes its own storyline. WWE hasn't released names. No merchandise. No hint of who they are. And that's intentional. They don't want this to be about nostalgia. They want fear. Uncertainty. The sense that anything could happen at any moment. And third, it signals that Roman Reigns no longer belongs to SmackDown. He belongs to chaos. This segment will be studied, replayed, dissected. Because unlike the usual scripted promos or spot-heavy returns, this moment leaned into silence, tension, and psychology. And it worked. WWE may not have made a big announcement about a brand shift or a storyline kickoff. But make no mistake, when Roman Reigns walked onto Raw that night, he didn't come back to play fair. He came back to burn it all down. Who are the new Shield members? They didn't speak. They didn't pose. They didn't point at the WrestleMania sign or make gestures to the camera. They simply stood there, two towers in black, guarding Roman Reigns like shadows that had stepped out of a nightmare and into WWE. And just like that, the game changed. Fans immediately recognized the symbolism. Tactical vests. Boots. All black gear. Head slightly tilted down. It was unmistakable. Roman Reigns wasn't just returning as the tribal chief, he was reviving the spirit of the Shield. But this wasn't nostalgia. This was something more calculated. More dangerous. These weren't Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins. These weren't old friends. These were new enforcers. And nobody knew who they were. That's what made it terrifying. Because WWE always gives you something. A Titantron graphic. A nameplate. A leaked report before showtime. But this time, there was silence. WWE posted the post-Raw video. Roman's return. Seth's destruction. But not a single word about the identities of his two allies. That wasn't an accident. That was marketing through mystery. Theories started flooding in immediately. Reddit lit up. Wrestling Twitter melted down. Everyone had a theory, a screenshot, a zoom-in of someone's face mid-spear. There were guesses based on build, stance, posture. Fans were comparing biceps and boots to developmental roster photos. And yet, nothing definitive. So who are these men? Let's start with the most popular and most plausible rumor, Zilla Fatu. Zilla Fatu, son of the late Umaga and cousin to Roman Reigns, is not just part of the legendary Anoa'i bloodline, he's arguably the most intriguing prospect yet to enter the main WWE stage. He's younger, rawer, and hungrier than his cousins. He's already trained under Booker T's Reality of Wrestling promotion and has been making waves in the independent scene with a style that blends heavy Samoan power with fast, crisp strikes. He's got the look. The heritage. And most importantly, the intensity. One of the two mystery men bears an uncanny resemblance to Zilla, same body shape, similar neck tattoo design, same predatory gait. And WWE loves a long-term story. Imagine the poetic symmetry. Roman, once mentored by his family, now doing the same, forming a new dynasty, starting with Zilla. But who's the second man? Some have speculated Bronson Rechsteiner, better known to fans as Braun Breaker, could be involved. It's not impossible. Breaker has the build, the explosiveness, and the in-ring credibility. He's long been positioned as the next breakout monster. But there's one problem, he's not family. And Roman, especially in this new phase, seems focused on blood loyalty or chosen alliance. Another theory? Jacob Fatu. Fans have been begging for Jacob to make the WWE jump for years. He's a certified killer in MLW, unapologetically intense, wildly athletic for his size, and a natural in front of the camera. If Jacob Fatu is one of these men, it changes everything. He brings credibility. He brings fear. And he could step into a main event role instantly. But as of the time of Roman's Raw return, There's no confirmation of his WWE signing. So maybe we're asking the wrong question. Maybe it doesn't matter who they are, yet. Maybe the mystery is the point. Maybe Roman Reigns doesn't want fans to focus on the faces. Maybe he wants them to focus on the threat. These men didn't smile. They didn't pander. They didn't need names. Their message was physical: we are not here to entertain. We are here to enforce. This is a psychological tactic. By delaying the reveal, WWE builds tension. Every week they remain unnamed, every moment they stand behind Roman in silence, they grow more mythic. Fans project fear onto them. They become boogeymen. Invincible. Untouchable. Eventually, the reveal will come. And when it does, it will hit harder because of the build-up. Until then, every camera pan to Roman's flank will be a question mark. Every stare from one of the new members will have weight. Are they brothers? Cousins? Former military? Trained killers? Are they loyal to Roman, or just using him for their own rise? There's even a theory that Roman is using mystery men to create disposable foot soldiers. That these two are the first of many. A new faction modeled after the Black Ops Shield aesthetic, but built to serve his dominance. An army, not a brotherhood. Think about it. The original Shield was a unit. Equal power. Shared spotlight. This version? Roman stands in the middle. He gives the orders. The others execute. No names. No egos. Just control. It fits his evolution. As the tribal chief, Roman built the bloodline with family. But over time, that fractured. Loyalty became conditional. Emotions got in the way. Jimmy questioned him. Jay broke free. Solo hesitated. Now? He's stripping emotion out of the equation. He's not looking for family. He's looking for weapons. And if that's true, then these men aren't teammates. They're instruments of Roman's will. That's the most terrifying possibility of all. Because it means we're not seeing a group. We're seeing a system. And systems replicate. Today it's 2 men. Tomorrow it could be 5. One at Raw. One at SmackDown. One at NXT. A Roman Reigns syndicate, shielded operatives designed to suffocate every storyline in WWE until Roman's vision becomes reality. And what is that vision? Total control. He doesn't want the title. He wants the brand. He doesn't want to be recognized. He wants to be unquestioned. That's why he chose now to return. Right when Raw seemed stable. Right when Seth Rollins had found his rhythm. Right when the other champions were feeling secure. He showed up with 2 shadows and reminded the world, order is an illusion. WWE loves to sell chaos. But Roman manufactures it. And his new shield? That's not nostalgia. That's warfare. It's been over a decade since the Shield first stormed through the crowd in black tactical gear, fists clenched, and eyes locked on their next victim. That was 2012. Back then, they weren't legends. They weren't even fully formed characters. They were mercenaries, unknown but unforgettable, united by chaos, silent coordination, and raw violence. And yet here we are, in 2025, and the moment Roman Reigns resurrected the spirit of the Shield with 2 new allies, without saying a word, an entire generation of fans knew exactly what it meant. No hashtags. No nostalgia montage. Just the gear. The formation. The walk. The vibe. And people got it. That's the power of a formula that works. But why does the Shield's blueprint still hit so hard, even after all these years? The answer starts with structure. The Shield wasn't just a faction. It was a story engine. 3 men with different personalities and strengths, moving in perfect sync, always outnumbering their opponents and controlling the pace of every situation. They weren't equals in the way a tag team is. They were complementary opposites. Seth Rollins was the architect, the strategist, quick-thinking and agile. Dean Ambrose, now Jon Moxley, was the wild card, the unpredictable bruiser with a death wish. And Roman Reigns was the muscle, the calm center, the enforcer. Together, they represented more than just a group. They were a unit. A weaponized philosophy. The presentation helped too. No fancy theme song. No pyro. No over-the-top gimmicks. Just the crackle of police radio, the tactical gear, and that menacing walk through the audience. It felt real. It felt different. They didn't come out to entertain, they came to dismantle. And fans could sense it. That authenticity is hard to replicate. But the real genius of the Shield wasn't just in what they did. It was how they did it. They dominated from the jump. Most factions start slow, build rapport, win a few matches, maybe get a tag title run. The Shield walked in and wrecked everyone. John Cena. Randy Orton. Kane. The Undertaker. They were booked not just as future stars, but as the present threat. It was immediate credibility, and it worked because the group had a system. A playbook. A mission. You never knew when they'd strike. But when they did, you knew what came next. The triple powerbomb. The tactical retreat. The message, no one is safe. Now fast forward to today. WWE is flooded with factions, but none with the structure, identity, or cohesion that the Shield had. Judgment Day feels like a revolving door. The LWO has history, but not direction. The bloodline was close, but became bloated and emotional. The Shield's magic came from minimalism. Clean visuals. Sharp execution. No fluff. And that's exactly what Roman is tapping back into now. By stripping things down, 2 allies, no names, no theatrics, he's rebuilt the mythos. This new Shield isn't about nostalgia. It's about re-weaponizing a winning concept. Look at how effective it's been already. The moment Roman walked down that ramp with 2 unknowns, the WWE audience didn't question the setup. They didn't need names or a promo. They understood. That's the kind of narrative clarity WWE has lacked for years. It's a return to simplicity in the middle of chaos. Because right now, the product is noisy. Every segment has lights, catchphrases, alliances, betrayals, surprise returns. But few things stick. The Shield sticks. Their imagery. Their dominance. Their silence. It all feels like something WWE can hang a main event picture on again. And it's not just nostalgia for older fans. Newer fans are learning the significance in real time. They're watching Seth Rollins get blindsided and then watching the internet explain why this matters. They're going down rabbit holes, learning about the triple powerbomb, about the faction's history, about how Roman used to follow orders and now gives them. It becomes legacy. It becomes continuity. And in wrestling, continuity is currency. That's what makes the revival of this formula so powerful. It's not a reboot. It's a progression. It's Roman saying, I know what worked. I know what we built. Now I'm building something better. More focused. Less emotional. More brutal. Even the choice of mystery enforcers plays into the formula's evolution. The original Shield let every member develop individually. Each had a voice. Promos. Stories. This new version? They're anonymous. At least for now. They don't speak. They act. That shift says something about Roman's mindset too. He no longer wants brothers in arms. He wants tools. Loyal, effective, and silent. That's a dangerous evolution of the original formula, but it's brilliant from a storytelling standpoint. It takes what made the Shield effective, order, strategy, surprise, and adds Roman's trademark touch, control. This makes every future appearance a live threat. If Roman shows up on Raw again with those two? Who's safe? Cody? Sami? Drew? No one. And that's exactly the suspense WWE needs right now. The Shield formula also opens the door for slow reveals, and WWE needs long-term storytelling more than ever. Maybe the enforcers eventually get names. Maybe they turn on Roman. Maybe a third member joins. Maybe Seth has to recruit allies to combat them. Every option opens a new chapter. And that's what a formula does, it gives you endless combinations of the same powerful core. If WWE leans into it, we could be looking at the return of episodic storytelling that people care about. Remember the weekly anticipation of Shield six-man tags? Remember when you had to tune in to see if they'd strike again? That's what this formula revives. Appointment television. Even from a business perspective, the formula works. The Shield sold a ridiculous amount of merch. Their gear was iconic. The black and white fists. The riot shields. The masks. The phrase "believe in the Shield." It was marketing gold. And now? WWE can reboot that branding through the new iteration without relying on old faces. They can build a new legacy while still paying homage to the past. In a time where attention spans are short and loyalties are fickle, that kind of brand consistency is invaluable. This isn't just smart. It's surgical. Roman Reigns isn't bringing back the Shield because he misses the old days. He's doing it because the original design was flawless. What failed was the system around it. The emotions. The egos. The politics. Now? He's rebuilding it with new rules. And those rules are simple. No names. No mercy. No weakness. The Shield formula still works because it never relied on gimmicks. It relied on clarity. Purpose. Strategy. And in a WWE landscape filled with chaos and overexposure, that might be the most dangerous weapon of all. The Bloodline wasn't just a faction. It was a phenomenon. For nearly 3 years, it carried the emotional core of WWE across both major brands. Roman Reigns didn't just headline, he dominated. From 2020 to 2023, he operated like a mob boss with a microphone, turning family members into soldiers, matches into courtrooms, and storylines into full-blown operatic drama. But the question now looms, can lightning strike twice? Can Roman Reigns take the storytelling formula of the Bloodline, loyalty, manipulation, power, and remake it inside the armor of a new Shield? To answer that, we need to understand what made the Bloodline so effective. It wasn't just Roman. It was the relationships. The slow burn. The way each character evolved under the pressure of the tribal chief's rule. Start with Jey Uso. A tag team specialist turned singles star, Jey was the first to fall in line. But it wasn't a simple heel turn. It was layered. He fought Roman. He cried. He questioned. He submitted. Fans didn't just watch it. They felt it. Jey's transformation from underdog to main event was authentic. Earned. Tragic. And ultimately heroic when he walked away. Then there was Jimmy. The loyal twin who tried to hold the family together. He resisted Roman, but couldn't save his brother. He caved. Then snapped. Then switched again. It was messy, but real. Human. And Solo Sikoa? He entered late but instantly made an impact. Cold. Quiet. A hammer in human form. His presence added gravity. He didn't need promos. He brought finality to conflicts. All of it was tied together by one man, Paul Heyman. The Whisperer. The Judas. The advisor who played every side but always ended up back under Roman's thumb. His facial expressions during Bloodline segments became memes, reaction gifs, and viral clips. Because they told a story without words. This was the blueprint: create a king, surround him with loyalists, introduce cracks in the armor, and make fans feel the betrayal. Drag it out. Let the tension build. Let matches mean more because of what they represent, not just what's at stake. And it worked. The Bloodline storyline elevated careers, created rating spikes, moved merchandise, and gave WWE something it hadn't had in years: consistency. A single story thread that fans could follow week to week across multiple platforms. So now, in 2025, as Roman Reigns returns flanked by new faces in Shield gear, the natural question is, can that formula work again? The answer, yes, but not by repeating it. By evolving it. Because here's the truth: the Bloodline burned hot. And by the end, it was starting to unravel. Fans grew frustrated by repetitive promos, dragged-out plotlines, and unresolved feuds. What began as genius started to feel bloated. Jay's storyline should have climaxed at WrestleMania, but it didn't. The tension with Solo was never fully explored. Jimmy's heel turn lacked motivation. In short, the story outgrew itself. That's why the new Shield needs to be more streamlined. Sharper. Leaner. Less about family. More about function. Roman's greatest mistake with the Bloodline was allowing emotion to cloud control. He made Jay feel like a brother, not a soldier. He let Heyman manipulate him. He gave Solo room to question orders. This time, he's not making that mistake. With the new Shield, there's no room for conflict, at least not yet. It's about clarity. 2 men. 1 mission. No names. No rebellion. Just execution. That shift is key. Because if Roman wants to recreate the success of the Bloodline, he has to first acknowledge what made it eventually falter. The story got too personal. Too soap operatic. Too dependent on emotional swerves. What fans responded to early in the Bloodline was structure. Dominance. A clear hierarchy. Roman on top, enforcers below, enemies outside. That's the part he's reviving now. And there's another critical difference: timing. The Bloodline grew over years. The new Shield started with a strike. Roman didn't ease back into WWE. He didn't show up, give a promo, tease a storyline. He arrived, flanked by monsters, and dismantled Seth Rollins without hesitation. It was violent. Fast. Tactical. That's the point. The Bloodline told a long-form family tragedy. The new Shield is launching like a war campaign. It's not about love. It's about leverage. And from a strategic standpoint, that gives Roman an advantage he never had before: detachment. With the Bloodline, every betrayal hurt. Every argument mattered. With the new Shield, these men don't question orders. They carry them out. That allows Roman to be colder. Sharper. More calculating. And that makes him even more dangerous. Now, let's talk about audience investment. One of the reasons the Bloodline worked so well is because fans knew the stakes were real. Roman and his cousins were family in real life. The arguments, though scripted, had roots in generational trauma, pride, and legacy. The new Shield doesn't have that emotional currency, yet. But it doesn't need to. Because instead of family, it's built on fear. Roman's new faction creates a different kind of tension. Not will he betray them, but what will they destroy next? That sense of inevitability. That sense that no one is safe. That's what fuels anticipation. And if WWE plays it right, that anticipation becomes momentum. Week by week, the enforcers reveal more of themselves. Not with backstories. Not with drama. But through action. Dominance. Clean victories. Uninterrupted attacks. Chilling silence. Then, slowly, you build cracks. Maybe one of them hesitates. Maybe someone from Roman's past returns: Jay, Jimmy, even Solo, and tries to pull them away. Maybe Paul Heyman shows up again, whispering in ears, sowing discord. Maybe Seth Rollins builds his own alliance to fight back. And boom, you've got a war again. That's how you echo the bloodline story without copying it. You keep the emotional hooks, but reframe the stakes. Instead of family versus legacy, it becomes order versus chaos. Instead of brotherhood falling apart, it becomes domination spreading uncontrollably. And most importantly, you give Roman a new identity. Not just tribal chief. Not just head of the table. But warlord of WWE. That's what this evolution allows. A clean break from the melodrama of the bloodline and a return to the raw intimidation of the Shield, with a higher IQ and deadlier tactics. That's how you repeat the bloodline blueprint. By never stepping in the same footprint twice. To understand why his name is sending ripples through the wrestling world. And why his rumored debut alongside Roman Reigns could be one of the most pivotal moments in WWE's recent history, you need to understand where he comes from. Because Zilla isn't just another generational talent. He's a living, breathing continuation of a bloodline that has dominated this industry for 4 decades. Zilla Fatu is the son of Edward Umaga Fatu. Umaga wasn't just a Samoan powerhouse. He was a force. From 2006 to 2009, he was one of WWE's most terrifying and convincing characters. Silent, brutal, and completely believable as a threat. He was the kind of performer who didn't need long promos or dramatic music. His body told the story. His aggression wrote the pages. And his absence left a void. Zilla has that same fire. He's not a carbon copy of his father, no son ever is. But the intensity is there. The commitment. The aura. And most importantly, the lineage. Zilla is a product of the Anoa'i dynasty, a family that includes Roman Reigns, the Usos, Rikishi, Yokozuna, the Wild Samoans, and The Rock. In other words, Zilla Fatu is wrestling royalty. But what separates Zilla from the other second and third generation talents is how he's chosen to prepare. While some legacies rush to the spotlight, Zilla has taken a different path. He didn't debut on NXT with fanfare. He didn't get fast-tracked to main events based on his last name. He started at Booker T's Reality of Wrestling promotion in Texas. There, he trained. Quietly. Relentlessly. Patiently. And what emerged wasn't just a kid with potential. It was a problem. Zilla Fatu quickly built a reputation for being raw, powerful, and unflinchingly intense. His strikes are crisp. His promos are short but seething with emotion. His footwork is tight. He moves like a heavyweight but stalks his opponents like a predator. Every step is measured. Calculated. He's not flashy. He's not showbiz. He's dangerous. That's exactly what Roman Reigns needs. Because if Roman's return is about re-establishing dominance, not just theatrics, then Zilla fits the mission perfectly. He's not coming back to play games. He's coming to restore order. And who better to do it with than a cousin who carries both the family legacy and the emotional weight of honoring Umaga? Imagine the visual. Roman Reigns in the center. On one side, a silent juggernaut. On the other, Zilla Fatu. An heir wearing the scars of his father's legacy and walking into WWE not as a rookie, but as a statement. That's not just booking. That's mythology. And fans respond to mythology. It's the one thing wrestling can do better than any other medium. Heroes. Villains. Family ties. Betrayals. Redemption arcs. And when you add real blood, real history, it transcends kayfabe. Zilla Fatu doesn't need to speak about Umaga. He doesn't need to invoke the name. The fans already feel it. The weight of expectation. The desire to honor, and the burden to exceed. This is what makes him so compelling. He's not trying to recreate his father's career. He's trying to continue the family's legacy on his own terms. And that means this version of Zilla, possibly hidden behind the tactical vest of Roman's new shield, could be something different. Something more feral. More controlled. The kind of talent that doesn't need gimmicks because everything about him already screams authenticity. From a booking standpoint, the timing is perfect. WWE desperately needs a new Samoan enforcer. Solo Sikoa filled that role for a time, but even his presence has grown stale without Roman to guide the narrative. The bloodline splintered, and the emotional weight that once made Solo compelling is now fading. What WWE needs now is a reset, not a continuation. Zilla provides that. He's younger. Hungrier. Untested in the main arena, but highly regarded by those who've seen him train and work. And most importantly, he hasn't been overexposed. WWE fans don't know what he sounds like. They don't know what his finisher is. That mystery gives creative room to build something organically. And let's be honest, when was the last time WWE introduced a debuting talent with both legacy and aura? It's rare. Zilla could be the kind of star who doesn't start with a mid-card title. He starts with a war. A storyline. A purpose. Imagine this, Roman sits at the head of his new table. Zilla at his right hand. Not as a subordinate, but as an heir. Not The Rock's heir. Not a bloodline sidekick. But the next phase of the Samoan Empire. That opens dozens of storylines. Zilla vs. Solo. A battle for the soul of the dynasty. Zilla vs. Jay. The new prince versus the scarred veteran. Zilla vs. Cody. The American nightmare versus Samoan destiny. But it all hinges on one thing, how WWE introduces him. And what better way than silence? Let the fans guess. Let them wonder. Let Roman drop cryptic hints. Let commentary speculate without confirming. Let Zilla become someone before they name him. Then one night, on Raw or Night of Champions, Roman finally gives him a name. This is Zilla Fatu. The last blood I trust. 6 words. That's all it takes. Now he's real. Now he's canon. Now he's dangerous. Because the most powerful debut is not the one you promote. It's the one that happens to you. And Zilla Fatu, standing behind Roman Reigns, waiting, learning, watching. He's the kind of storm that doesn't need thunder. Just presence. WWE has a rare opportunity here. Not just to debut a new star, but to launch a new era. A new shield. A new dynasty. One that bridges the old world of family honor with the new reality of ruthless order. Zilla isn't a gimmick. He's not nostalgia. He's next.